Pashupati Advani is also now joining us here on the channel. Pashupati, today so much we've seen a recovery after the big sell-off that we saw on overnight before the long weekend. What do you make of the recovery that we're seeing? Finally the green that we're seeing on the screens.
Well, I guess it's everybody's thankful for seeing green after the last 3-4 sessions of red, 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 including this morning. So, but I think that what's happening is that this new strain has come and it's spooked people. I don't know for how long, because there are already reports coming out that it's not as bad as people seem. So, and that governments have jumped the gun a little bit. But I think the push is there to make everybody take another dose, a booster dose of the vaccine. And I think that would be good for vaccine companies all over the world. Now, some of them don't list here, like Moderna and Pfizer. Pfizer lists in India, but it's not really involved in the vaccine. But I think that that's where the push is going to come. And let's see what happens when the Americans open up after their sort of holiday week, which should happen in a few hours.
Yeah, indeed. In the interim, though, Pashupati, what one is seeing is that Reliance is doing the heavy lifting. It did it on Thursday. Friday succumbed to selling pressure. And now again, over the weekend, with the news that they too, much like the incumbents, Airtel and Idea, have undertaken a 20% tariff hike, the stock is holding up again, once again providing that leg up to the index. Given that just the last weekend you had the news flow coming in that the deal with Saudi Aramco has fallen through, you saw that acute pressure on the stock, and now this recovery in place, would you say that keep your bets on with Reliance?
See, Reliance, obviously this hike in prepaid tariffs is good for all the three providers, and it basically goes straight to the bottom line because they've already taken in all the costs. So I think that's good for the industry as a whole. And to be fair, I don't think we're ready to shut down all our mobile phones. And a certain tariff hike is necessary to keep everybody in business. And certainly the other two were suffering. Reliance has been the leader, and they've actually driven the prices down. But I think I'm glad that they've also agreed and stepped up their pricing. Otherwise, there would be a huge gap, and more customers would perhaps port. But I feel that three are here to stay. Regarding Aramco, I don't think it's gone away. I think it'll just get re-evaluated because I think that there is a need on both sides to get something done. And I think it will happen. It may take a few months and be, the sort of January, February, March quarter news rather than this quarter. But that's all good. And Reliance is a bellwether for the market. And therefore, people who hold it comfortable. And, I looked at the numbers this morning, when Reliance was basically taking more than half the gain of the market. Whatever the gains are were due to Reliance. Now, of course, things have changed and become, others have also gone into the green. But this morning, it was the bright spark. And so it should continue to be.
Right. Okay, what one is seeing is that some of the pharmaceutical names are definitely falling off from the day's high. So Aurobindo is roughly down about 4.5%. Similar is the price action for a Biocon, for a Lupin, for a Glenmark. But healthcare services continue to hold out. So once again, the entire diagnostic space, for instance, is holding up very smartly. Metropolis, Lal Path Labs, both these stocks are holding out very well in trade. And Metropolis, remember, along with Apollo Hospitals, has already had a good run all of last week too. Pashupati, now with this new variant, you think, diagnostic stocks are bound to do well? Because again, there's going to be that thrust on testing.
Well, yes and no, because I think that if this hysteria continues, the foreign testing is going to slow down. Domestic testing is going to go on at the same rate. But I think that, there's been a lot of push that this variant is not as bad as people think it is. And so maybe it's wishful thinking on my part. But again, the diagnostic players are here to stay. People are going to be doing testing, and maybe some of the local governments will actually, increase their testing somewhat. But I don't think, just because there's been a new strain, people have gone dashing off to take a test today. It'll just continue as the norms are for testing. And, if you, maybe there'll be some extra sort of emphasis on contact tracing, which I know we have and some other countries also have. So hopefully that will lead to a little more testing. But at the end of it all, you need a further test for Omicron. And I think that's what the concern is. And I was told the numbers in Mumbai, where I live, has been very low. So, I mean, so therefore that's one thing that we have in our pocket that is going to help us. Aisha?
Pashupati, it's Nayantara again. So, we've talked about Reliance doing the heavy lifting and your views as far as this stock goes. What we've also seen is this time round, very interestingly, was Bharti Airtel, right? That was the first to come out with a tariff hike, much higher than what the street had been expecting. Jio was, in fact, the third one to come out with its tariff hike. The question I have for you is, what's your call when it comes to Bharti Airtel?
Bharti is definitely going to stay, okay? The question mark has been Idea, whether Idea is going to be there or not. I personally feel that Idea is also going to be there to stay. So we're going to have a three-pronged competition between the three of them. The government, BSNL, MTNL is also there. It's small, it's significant in the rural areas, but I think that either parts or the whole of it may get absorbed, or maybe it'll come for divestment in the next fiscal year. So, Airtel is there. It stands to benefit if Vodafone Idea goes down. It obviously stands to benefit with this new tariff hike. So they raise the bar, and nobody can point fingers saying it's too much or too little. They want to get to 200 rupees ARPU, and they're at whatever, 110 or 120 before the hike, maybe 140 after the hike. So they've still got a ways to go. But it's staying. It's not going anywhere. And definitely it's benefited a lot from the migration of people from Idea and even a little bit from Jio this month. So that's good.
Moving on to the banking names and the news that came out over the weekend as far as the Reserve Bank talking about promoters group stakes in private sector lenders. Kotak already meeting the 26% norm, but now you have headroom for IndusInd Bank. Hinduja promoters are already talking about a $1.1 billion deal. There is room, for example, in Bandhan Bank. HDFC Limited can do it in HDFC Bank. How important is all of this from a market perspective, and what would your pecking order be for the private sector lenders?
Honestly, I don't think the market cares about all this. They just care that they've got a running bank and the bank is doing well. Whether the promoter has 5% more or less, really they don't care. IndusInd is a little bit different because there seems to be some kind of a sort of adjustment going on within the promoters, which time will tell how it's going to actually end out. But the others, they're all there. They've all, as you said, met the norms and have some headroom. So maybe there's a chance to bring in new promoters into some of those banks. Certainly the Bandhans and maybe even IndusInd, you might have a new promoter along with the family. So who knows? These are going to be times to tell. But as I said, as far as the public is concerned, as long as the bank is there and the bank doesn't have NPAs, they're happy to own it and they're happy to participate in whatever rally the banks may have or not have.